Another month comes to an end, and we are once again revisiting a Star Wars film.
And just as this month ends, so does the prequel trilogy. This week, we revisit Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
How Star Wars is it?
Well, hello there, Mike.
Hi, Josiah. And I'm Mike.
Hello, and I'm Josiah. And hello to the listeners, and welcome to How Star Wars Is It? The only podcast.
It's the only one, and it's certainly the only one wherein we rate and review absolutely anything and ultimately everything on a scale of 1 to 10 on how Star Wars that thing may be. Now, we are racing against the clock to eventually review everything, yet here we are once again revisiting something we've already reviewed.
Yeah, well, we know what we're good at. Well, we don't. Well, maybe not that, but we know what we have done.
Is the clock like Father Time, like dying?
Yeah, dying.
I was thinking more of. I was even thinking more of the clock of climate change. But that voice you heard
will die either way.
We'll die either way. That voice you heard is a special guest. We make him do this episode. Now we've made him do it twice.
Yeah.
So welcome back to the show.
He's been with us in the past. He'll no doubt be with us in the future.
Yes, the PFG himself, Michael DeLaney.
What's going on, PFG Nation?
all you PFG, all you
I'm
DeLaney
happy
heads
to be
out
here.
there.
No, I'm delighted to do this one again. I listened
It
to
did really tickle me when we were talking about, let's revisit every Star Wars movie just to make sure that our How Star Wars Is It scale is calibrated correctly. It tickled me to no end that we might have you back to do the same movie you've already joined us for.
Yeah. I feel like I'm coming at it from a completely different angle this time.
Oh, that's
actually.
great.
Oh, good. Well,
I do too, because Josiah and I both just watched this weekend to do our commentary for the Patreon. That's patreon.com/howstarwarsisit. Every month, you get a different commentary track of a different Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been a while since I had seen it. I'm not even sure we watched it ahead of doing the episode with you last time.
I don't think you did.
I don't think we did. I hadn't seen this movie since about 2017 when I watched all the movies with a friend who hadn't seen Star Wars in preparation for Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So, I hadn't seen this movie in a long time. So I'm coming at it from I literally have no idea what we said in the first episode that we did on this. So
I do, and one of it was very cautious optimism, but you could kind of tell in your voice that Rise of Skywalker was going to be disappointing.
Because it hadn't come out yet.
You're like, yeah, well, it looks like the Emperor's going to be in it, so I guess we're going to do some stuff, like we used to do.
Maybe it'll be a flashback.
Maybe it'll be a flashback. Maybe it'll be just a voice in someone's head. I don't know.
Surely he's not in it.
Surely they wouldn't go back to the well again.
You know what's going to be? I'm bizarrely looking forward to it to no end is revisiting that movie, because I don't even really remember it. I've only seen it the one time with you, Michael DeLaney.
That's true.
So
I watched it before I got on my solo kick. Rise of Skywalker was like, I had a cam cut that I found, and I was rewatching it. I made Dave Q watch it just to see him get upset.
God, yeah. It's so unfortunate. And
well, it's funny.
The prequels, I want to find reasons to like it, and they're just so much more. It's harder for those to come, and it might be the difference between seeing the prequels at a young age versus seeing it as a 30-year-old. But
the Rise of Skywalker makes me laugh at other things retroactively. Like in this movie, I can't see twin sons without laughing now.
Yeah.
we both talked about that right as the movie was ending. We were like, okay, well, I mean, this makes sense because it is the hopeful note to end this fucking downer of a movie.
Yeah, this movie's so depressing.
And with the intro crawl, I probably never laughed at war before.
Yes!
But now it's just like, the dead speak!
We also comment
That roar!
that opening crawl has a couple funny things. The favorite being war.
Right. And then also heroes on both sides.
Yes, the heroes on both sides. I was like, what? Yep. What a weird take to like. Why would you just
Evil
write that in your movie?
Everywhere.
Right.
But there are heroes on both sides.
Oh man.
So this movie. So one thing that I want to talk about though, right out the gate, is I think we should make this podcast like this movie and have the first sixth of it be very good, and then have the rest of it just suck so much ass.
The first set piece, it's really focused and it's got a good pace to it, and then the rest of it, maybe we spend the rest of the podcast talking about like nature. I don't know, like just some other.
It's got to be jovial up top, and then takes a very dark turn.
Yeah,
some
maybe
children.
the remainder of the episode we talk about like children dying.
Children may or may not die in the process.
Yeah, the beginning of this movie, having not watched it in many years, I was like, Mike and I were really enjoying the beginning, and I didn't remember like it being that fun. Like I remembered the overall beats of it, that he cuts off Dooku's head or whatever. But the journey was like fun. I was like, this is some primo Star Wars shit. Like,
to be honest, like the opening crawl all the way to when they like crash land on Coruscant is like A+ Star Wars.
Yeah. It's peak
like
Star
a
Wars.
little campy and cheesy, but like it's fun action, and nothing is like we don't have enough time and dialogue with the characters to like roll our eyes yet. Like it's all mostly just, like action packed.
Well, I told you guys that I did my homework overtime on this one, and
yes,
that
you did.
included I watched it once by itself, but before that, I watched it with DVD commentary.
Oh man.
Oh no! Who was
are the
commentating?
commenters?
Oh God, I don't have their names all. I know
Jar Jar
George
Binks.
Lucas, Rick McCollum, who was the producer.
His yes man.
Exactly, and then two other guys who were like digital effects people. I can't remember.
Got
names.
it. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. But
that's all Lucas cares about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I said this, I think, in the commentary, but I learned at some point for this podcast, I'm sure, I learned in all the different trivia that this is the only movie that they like literally never shot a single scene on location. Yeah. There's only one on-location scene, which is that very end when Luke is handed off from Obi-Wan to Owen and Beru. Beru, by this point, I imagine, is Owen's wife,
is in
not
Nexium.
just his girlfriend.
Oh, right.
And she was in Nexium. But
he calls her Brew, like, give me a brew, dude.
Brew. that sequence was shot when they shot Attack of the Clones.
Oh my God. Okay.
So like, there's not a single scene shot like in a place. It's all just like in a
they
stage.
said the biggest set that they made was the fight with Dooku, where the Emperor has, like I said, the nicest chair in the room. He's tied to the nicest chair in the room for some reason.
Yeah.
So like that, they even said at other points being like, oh, everybody thinks we blue screen everything, but we don't. But we kind of do. Like, is basically what they said.
We basically do, but some stuff is like, the people are there. There was some funny goopy effect stuff that is just weird to see. So, Delaney, I started watching Titans recently, and I was telling Mike, I mean, we're just going to say all the stuff we said in the commentary. Speaking of Superboy, haven't gotten to him yet. But
that was in the Patreon episode.
Yeah, I know.
there's a Michael DeLaney is wearing a Superboy shirt for everyone who's listening. But like
that's the entirety of the Patreon episode.
Right, that was the whole, that's what it's going to be called.
It's describing the shirt.
Yeah. So he cut the sleeves off. Red S.
We go fiber for fiber.
Found it in the gym.
Found it in the gym. The effects in Titans are like not always good because it's like a streaming show, and they don't. It looks like they
and just television. Period.
Just television effects aren't always
TV
the best.
To not be,
And so like anytime like Beast Boy turns into a tiger, it's like a Jello tiger. Like look at this little goopy tiger that showed up. And like in the first or in this whole movie, but in the first sequence specifically, it was just kind of funny watching with our modern eye, like, however many years later, like watching Obi-Wan turn into like goop and then turn back into a person that
like
walks
when
normally.
The piece of set like falls on him, it looks.
Oh my God, that should break his leg.
Yeah,
Yes.
and like when Dooku like flips. In fact, really, when any Jedi like hangs in the air sort of against gravity. Like, I know that's a thing that Jedi can do, and that there's an established, like Luke jumps really fast and high in the Bespin lightsaber duel, but like I wish gravity were a bit more apparent in the flippy stuff that people do. Like, it doesn't have to be 9.8 meters per second squared downward.
Well,
but
I was thinking when Anakin, the famous final fight where he gets his arms and leg cut off. But it's like, I don't know, why couldn't you just jump higher? You seem to be able to do that at different times.
Yeah, you seem to be able to like see the code of the Matrix. And like eventually leaping tall buildings in a single bound becomes flying.
Just wait till your power bar is all the way back up, and then
jump really good. Yeah, there's a lot of things. There's no something else that's in the commentary. I don't care. I'm just gonna say it here too. I'll stop prefacing with that because not everyone listens to the commentary. But like there's stuff that we as fans know that the Force can do, or that like lightsabers are capable of, or that Jedi are capable of, that are never showed in any movies, right? Like, especially not in the original trilogy or prequels. Like the Force creep, the power creep gets higher and higher as you go. But like,
until eventually kissing someone makes them live again.
Mm-hmm. But then like,
which is Snow White.
Yes,
is there a character named Force Creep? What?
Yeah, his name is what's the guy that's selling death sticks?
I'm the Force Creep.
The fights in the prequels are well choreographed and cool sometimes, but then there were several times where I was just like, why don't they just use the Force like ever, right, to do different things? And it's like, I don't know, there's probably in-canon explanations you could make for it, but it does sort of change the stakes of some of those fights. And like Mike said something about, like, especially the last fight on Mustafar, where at a certain point they're just like two bright flashes of light just like like hitting each other, and there's not really.
It may as well just be a light bright with a camera rolling in front of it. Like,
well, I was thinking it's like after they have their intense fight in that little control room or whatever, and then they take it out to like scaffolding over lava, and if I was there, I'd be like, I'm not doing this. Like, if you want to fight me, come back over here. This is too much. I will kill you.
Well, yeah, and like we were saying, like lightsaber duels are at their best, and I know that the Star Wars Minute guys talk about this too. They are at their best when they are taunty conversations that have sword fight moments in between jabs, like Obi-Wan and like only a master of evil, Darth, and like
or
like,
my power's a double count.
Like honestly,
like,
though, a better example of a better fight in the same movie, you know what I mean? Like,
right. But yeah, they're like chess matches where there's two people pitted against one another, like throwing barbs at each other, and the only way to kind of keep escalating and heightening, and at this point this is the 6th Star Wars movie, they basically had to fucking like throw them over lava. And like, I don't know, the most fun part of that sequence was when they were on the like landing platform and Obi-Wan's like, you have done that yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Or whenever they go whoo, 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 and just go around themselves for like a solid 2 seconds and then land back in the front.
They were pretty proud of that. They were talking about how like multiple people. I'm not sure if they recorded the commentary together. It's because like sometimes they would say the same thing.
Oh, sure.
But it seemed like multiple people wanted to get it through that this was not sped up, and that this is how fast they're moving. This is how intense they're working. That they trained really hard for this.
I mean, I believe
that.
How
do you explain that moment when during the lightsaber duel on Mustafar, Obi-Wan and Anakin both are standing like a lightsaber's distance away, and they're just sort of spinning their lightsabers?
They did not.
What is your like headcanon version of that? Because like I was saying, like maybe they were at like the middle point of a specific stance and they had to reset to another stance or something. Like,
man, I can't even try to justify it. It's just basically like, all right, like it's time for a little halftime show.
Here's my justification. Obi-Wan trained Anakin, right? And so and they've worked together for a very long time. And so I feel like my headcanon justification for that would be they are noticing imperceptible shifts
like
of
where their lightsabers
where they're going,
headed.
and so they are countering, and then when they realize that they're both just countering nonstop, that's when they come back to okay, fine, fuck, we'll just go back to like
stick the sword out.
Yeah, like I think they're just countering to the point where they realize they're just countering each other's counters, and then they're like, okay, let's fight normal again. The end.
You guys have talked about this before with lightsaber fights. It's like they're not fighting to kill each other. They're fighting to hit choreography.
Right.
Like I really don't know what it would look like if they were actually trying to hit each other. But you know, both of them are kind of like, well, I have to hit up because he's gonna hit down. Like you know, I have to catch his blade here. It's very
stab. It's
it's
very
catch.
good fight choreography in general. But it's like it's the difference between seeing really good fight choreo on like a live theater stage, because like when you see it on a stage with real people in front of you, you're like, oh fuck, they could get hit. But then like whenever it's on but whenever it's on your screen, or like, you know, when you can watch it over and over again, that's when you notice that like, oh, no one's in any real danger, all the stakes are gone, like I can tell what you're aiming for. But I think I'm so interested in, and I've talked like I can't remember if I talked about this before on the actual show, but like the different styles of like lightsaber fighting throughout each trilogy is, I feel like, is sort of emblematic of each trilogy by itself, because in the original it's like slow, measured, even
people
when
talking to one another, and every so often they like swing a really heavy like photo reflective stick at each other.
Yeah, and it's in the prequels it's flashy and fast and well executed, but like with not much weight.
Yeah.
And then in the sequel trilogy, it's inconsistent and just like good sometimes and not good other times, and like it's weirdly probably is less emblematic of the sequel trilogy, which is in itself emblematic of the sequel trilogy, because it's like we don't know what we are. I don't know.
It doesn't have a personality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like trying to impress you, the viewer.
Well, and like I go to bat for some of the sequel trilogy fights. Like I think the ones in Rise of Skywalker are all pretty much dog shit, but I think the ones in Force Awakens and Last Jedi are pretty good. But they are different. Like it's a different style than the flashy ones in the prequels, and obviously different from the original trilogy. But I don't know. What other interesting things did you learn in that commentary?
Lucas always like refers to lightsabers as laser swords, which I love. It's
that.
Just like, why'd you even make up the name, dude?
It's just so funny.
The best part is that like I've seen that, like back when I was on Star Wars TikTok too much, weird like the sort of annoying fanboys would get mad at people in the comments of any video where people would say laser swords.
Yeah.
And then and then those same creators would of course like create a reply like of actual, you know, clips of George Lucas and Nick Filoni like saying laser sword. It's like, guys,
and Jake Lloyd.
Yeah, it's in the movie. It's like there's different words for things, you know, like you can call.
Mithrandia.
There we go.
That's Gandalf's name in Gondor. I think it's his name in like Minas Tirith that they call him Mithrandia.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, why not?
I think George Lucas is hilarious in that very way of like, oh, well, like I would call it a lightsaber, but like I am just a human from Earth, like witnessing this take place, so I only know it as a laser sword. Like,
right, I'm sure he has his reasons.
He like set up a camera in an actual real place.
Yeah, he's telling this story. He was given this story.
Right.
And he didn't make it up. He's just telling it to us as best he can.
Yeah.
Which he did a lot of telling in this movie.
Yeah,
he talked about exposition sometimes. He said, this scene, the opera, the water opera, he was talking about, this scene is basically just exposition, so I had to think of a interesting reason for them to like come to an event. So water ballet or whatever that was.
And if you notice there, that character is Baron Papanoidea, and that's me.
And that's me.
These movies, these prequels especially, the internet would have you think that the order of how good they are is descending. 3, 2, 1. And I think maybe my order is the opposite.
Oh,
I
you
think
know what?
this
Like,
one might be my least favorite of the prequels, and it only took having a podcast about Star Wars and watching these movies 1,000 times to come to that conclusion. And maybe that'll change tomorrow. But
I think that I've seen. I'm trying to think where I see Attack of the Clones fall more often, but I feel like I've seen also 3, 1, 2 more often.
I've seen that too. Yeah.
Either way, I agree. The sort of conclusion that Mike and I came to after when we were talking about Star Wars while not recording after we recorded the other day, which felt wrong. But we were both like, yeah, Phantom Menace is kind of fun, right? It feels...
Oh yeah, that's right. We talked about Star Wars without a microphone running.
Yeah, it was really
Off
gross.
the clock.
It was fucking weird.
It was honestly, it was perverse, is what it was. I felt really nasty afterwards. But we were like, Phantom Menace is fun. There's cool stuff. There's fun characters. It feels the most I don't know, a movie, in a weird way.
Yes, it's the most movie of all 3 prequels for sure.
I don't know. I don't know how why I feel the way I do. I can't justify it because they're all silly. So I feel like I still like 3 the best. And most of my approach for how Star Wars this will be is Mike's fault, I'm going to say. I'm blaming it on Mike because I'm at a point in my Star Wars fandom where I'm I probably would never have watched the Clone Wars or Rebels unless you told me no, they're really good. So I'm gonna give it a shot.
You gotta stick with it. Only about a fifth of them are good, but you gotta watch all of them.
Right. So my hipster philosophy to Star Wars is just whatever, man. Disney doesn't really get it, but Dave Filoni gets it because he knew George Lucas. So it's very clear that this Clone Wars is all from this movie. There's no Clone Wars from Attack of the Clones. That's not even a part of that's just a rescue mission basically. But the aesthetic and the style and the fun, because they wanted to make the movie fun up front because they knew it was going to get serious, is very Clone Wars, I think. So I think this movie takes a lot of cues from that. So from the point of the endurance of Star Wars, I think that that qualifies this as being significantly Star Wars because it kind of informed what was to come.
That's a really good point because, of course, then Clone Wars inspired both Rebels and The Bad Batch, which is now essentially all of Star Wars animation. So without this movie, you're right. That opening sequence, in fact, as we were watching it the other day, I was like, this feels like a Clone Wars episode. Gravity shutting off for a point, and R2-D2's scrabbling around, and
at one point I was
everything about that opening sequence felt like a 3 or 4 episode Clone Wars arc. And the only there was the Tartakovsky Clone Wars, which was done prior to this movie,
right,
as a bridge between 2 and 3. But I think
it was done with that in mind. They talk about it in the commentary being oh yeah, well, in the cartoon we see that Grievous got choked or whatever, so that's why
his larynx squeezed.
Right. So
silly.
At the time that was the plan, I think. Well, this is going to be a fun little cartoon series, and then I think somewhere after the fact they decided to do the other one.
What if we did something proper?
Right.
Yeah, at one point I said, it's interesting to think that, Ahsoka Tano's just running around somewhere during this movie,
Right.
whenever, every time Obi-Wan and Anakin talked, I'd be like, there's someone else
She's
that's very
off on
important.
Mandalore fighting Darth Maul.
Yeah, she's, just doing her own thing. What was the other... Oh, yes, I think the big problem that we had this watch, that we talked about a lot, was, so much happens in this movie because it's the whole... The point of the supposed point of the prequels was supposed to be how did Darth Vader come to be?
Yeah,
and
we
they
were
really
saying this movie feels an awful lot like the last 15 minutes of an improv show where you're telling like a start to finish story, and you're like, oh shit, we have to wrap this up.
yeah. It's like all of the plot of how Anakin becomes Darth Vader happens just in this movie. There's no,
and it's in the last like 20 minutes.
like the only other thing you could say is that he killed the sand people in the last one, but that's like literally everything else.
And that he's cold in the first one.
Yeah.
Cold, sir.
Everything else is like just from those first two movies is like, I guess, just sort of set dressing of like, yeah, there's the characters around, but we're gonna wait until this third movie.
Wait till
to
you
do
guys
literally
get a load
everything.
of Ki Adi Mundi.
Got his little forehead.
Hang on, we are going way off course. There's still this really cute little kid who eventually has to become Darth Vader.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let's talk about Jar Jar Binks, and he's
You guys
got
ever
a funny...
heard of Yaddle?
Look at this weird underwater world with all these frog people. This is kind of fun.
Yeah, he definitely lost like the point. He lost the plot. And he even talks about it at some point, like, yeah, this is just exposition. I don't know, because like when they're like trying to wrap everything up, like, oh, it's how does Yoda learn how to become one with the Force? Like he talks about Qui-Gon and all that stuff. He's just like, yeah, this is just exposition. I don't know. I needed to kind of explain it somehow.
That one is so funny to me that he says like, I have new training for you at the end, because like I didn't. No one was asking how did Yoda learn how to do that,
right?
Or how Obi-Wan knew how to do that, because the only Jedi that we've known are Obi-Wan and Yoda. And we've seen both of their ghosts.
But we just saw 3 prequels full of Jedi who didn't then show up as Force ghosts. So he was like, "Oh shit!"
Right, but most of them, right. But most of them
anti-retconned myself. So now I have to explain why only Yoda and Qui-Gon are Force ghosts.
But most of them only died in the third movie, right? So we wouldn't have even had a chance to really see their. So like, what I'm saying is, he could have not done anything, and we would have been like, "Yeah, it looks like sometimes some Jedi can become Force ghosts, and some don't. Like maybe it has something to do with like what you did in life or what kind of power you have, like whatever." It's just such a George Lucas thing to be like, oh yeah, I have to explain this part because what are people gonna? It's like, no, you really didn't, man.
Now,
like,
counterpoint: the Lost Missions episodes of Clone Wars, which were episodes that Cartoon Network fully like produced, and then it got canceled from Cartoon Network, and then Netflix picked them up.
Right.
The arc of like Yoda learning from Qui-Gon how to become one with the Force is pretty fun.
That's pretty good. I mean, yeah, but that's like after the fact. That's them.
Right.
That's them apologizing for George and explaining George's explanations.
Right.
I find George Lucas so adorable in a weird way of like. Because it's like, from what you're talking about in the commentary, it seems like he knows he didn't make a very good movie. Because if you're a filmmaker and you're saying like, yeah, this part's just exposition, so I had to figure out something good to do, then like, you know that's not good.
Right.
Like, you've been making movies for decades, George. Like, you know that's not good movie making.
He sounds so tired. Like, I wonder what he sounded like. You know, again, like, it feels like a bygone era, and I like that there's mystery to it.
Right,
but,
that
like,
we don't know.
You don't see, like, interviews or a lot of, like, talking heads and stuff from when they were making the other movies. But, I mean, I'm assuming he still had that very low energy.
Because at the time, those movies, even, like, Return of the Jedi, when it was, like the peak of, like, people being interested in Star Wars, it was just another movie. Like, guys, don't worry. Like, there wasn't even the word fandom did not exist, and the idea of a nerd was not like a cool thing.
Well, it was sort of a nation thing, right?
I miss that. I miss it.
I do too. Yeah, like, because they were just allowed to be movies, and then there were like decades that we heard, and by we I mean like people older than us heard like, oh, Lucas had other ideas of like how Anakin became Darth Vader, and like he wanted to make those movies, but those will never happen. And in the meantime, all we have is like a role-playing game and Shadows of the Empire. And then like, he said, I'm going to make movies again. And then did Star Wars create like fucking trailer culture? Like how we talked about the Spider-Man trailer in our Patreon episode?
Well, I will... Go ahead. Sorry, Delaney.
Oh,
I was just
Can I talk?
Mike, you got this.
Well, I will say, since I do have the floor now, all of a sudden, we only have about 5 minutes left on this Zoom.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say the thing I was going to say, because I think Star Wars did, to an extent, create that kind of culture, but fandom did exist before. It wasn't called that, obviously, and it wasn't called fandom till recently, but like Star Trek was a thing.
Yeah, I was going to say
It was
Trekkies.
called dumb fan.
Yeah. Yes, dumb fans. But like Star Trek, even like the Beatlemania and stuff, right? Like there were phenomenon that a lot of people got involved with, but it does feel like, I feel like Star Wars, because it made people wait so long, and it was like before they got an official movie again, because even Star Trek, like it was a while before they got a new series. But then once
it made 10-year-olds turn into 40-year-olds.
Yes.
And 40-year-olds have opinions.
And so,
10-year-olds.
Yes, honestly. They hold on to it their whole life.
10-year-olds these days.
But yeah, I think you're right in that Star Wars created sort of a kind of fandom, like a specific kind of fandom that maybe hadn't existed before. Or at least in a different way. I don't know.
Trailer culture and everything like that, like with most modern problems, is just, accessibility and availability and having too much accessibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the internet's fault.
Speaking of trailers, what? What is this? Like, recent, I want to say it's been in the last, 2 or 3 years that, when a trailer is
so excited.
first dropped, it has a trailer ahead of time.
Yeah.
Of the trailer?
It goes, dun, 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 and shows
It's
you,
trailer drops today.
And it shows
you're
you,
about to watch it.
And it shows you 4 different images from the trailer you're about to see. It's like,
I don't understand.
This thing. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't part of it. Oh, and then you see him again in the trailer. You're like, oh, why? What was the point of this, guys?
I mean, I already saw it's just like when you watch a trailer a bunch and then you see the movie and you're like, well, I already saw this piece in the trailer. It's like, oh, I already saw this piece in the pre-trailer trailer.
Yeah.
It's just like a hype machine thing. Like, as an exercise, I like trying to do that, like trying to make a trailer based on how we absorb all that stuff, just static images with music in the background. It has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to know.
If you want to hear the three of us talk more about trailers, specifically the trailer of the new Spider-Man movie, tune in and go sign up for Patreon at patreon.com/howstarwarsisit.
I do want to know, what all, now that that's started to be a trend, who did it first, and what wild focus groups and market testing did they do? Where they were
this is good, yes.
Yeah, where they were like, oh, people love when we give them a real quick boom, boom, boom right before, because who? If I was in a focus group and I was shown that, I feel like I would be, I don't know, ambivalent at best. I'd be like, yeah, that was fine.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would say, why did we see 3 of the clips that were in the trailer? Why did we see those right before the trailer?
It was like a Mountain Dew focus group, and then at the end they're like, what do you think about this?
Right.
And they're like, yes, I am so high on sugar.
They were like, are you guys going to bring back all the potato products at Taco Bell? Because why'd you take those away?
And they're like, that's literally not us. That's not us, guys. You're in the wrong focus group. Did you guys, I used to try to get into focus groups for some extra cash. And I never got actually into one, but I went to a couple of the ones where they essentially are testing to see who they want. And so they show you a couple things, and then you fill out a form or whatever about your feelings towards Coca-Cola or whatever, and then from there they pick the 10 people that they really want.
The people who have the least developed opinions.
Yeah.
I don't know, tell me.
Maybe are the ones who are didn't fill in I hate Coca-Cola, or I don't like corporations or whatever. But I did see a very early version of a commercial that I then saw on TV, and I was like, oh, interesting. I was I was there at the beginning.
The closest I have to that is when AHA Sparkling Water had commercials released that I auditioned for the voiceover part.
Yes. On that note, should we go to the break, I guess?
Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah.
Here we go!
Aha! And we're
Jimmy Fallon.
I'm trying to think of a episode 3 meme. I feel all the prequel memes are from this movie.
Right.
Well, there's the one that got really popular recently, which was from episode 2.
That's true.
Which also is a funny one, but then when we watched it recently, I realized it isn't really based on the conversation they're actually having.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's not really a point where she says, this thing, right? And he goes, and she goes, this thing, right?
Anyway, I guess we're back.
And we're back!
And we're the high ground?
As is tradition on this show, when we have Michael DeLaney on, we make him do the game. Except he actually volunteered. We didn't make him.
That's true. I've done this game before with you guys, but I didn't have a name for it. So the name for this game that was previously called Real or Fake is called Are You for CalREALssian? So I looked back in the catalog.
Are you for CalREALssian?
Yeah.
Just so that everybody heard that.
So I looked up, we did this twice before. I looked up the dates that when this happened, so you can, kind of cut this audio and splice it back in there. I tried to make some fun references for the times that we were in. So May 13th, 2019. Here we go.
Oh, okay.
This game is called Are You for CalREALssian? And what's up with this season of Game of Thrones? Am I right?
Okay, good. That's good.
January 27, 2020. I'm back for another game of Are You for CalREALssian? And hey, have you ever wanted to see your dead dad's pants come to life? Disney Pixar's Onward in theaters February 29th.
Those are both clean drops. I'll get those edited back into those episodes. That's good.
Previous episodes.
I never saw that pants movie, but I know that happens.
It was fine. Wasn't that great. It was fine.
All right, and then there's a twist on top of this game. It's not your daddy's Real or Fake. In this version of Are You for CalREALssian, you have two responses. Instead of Real or Fake, you will say, for real, you will say Lando CalREALssian.
Right.
Or fake, you will say Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Good.
Obi-Wan.
Good.
And as I referenced earlier, I listened to the DVD commentary, so this particular game will be guessing which of these quotes is real and which I made up. Quotes from the commentary.
Good.
All right, so let's get going. Okay, first one. Are you for CalREALssian? I love this crash landing. The way it takes out the tower, killing 3 million people. No big deal.
Oh, no.
Is that Lando CalREALssian or Obi-Wan Kenobi?
God, I hope it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I feel like it's Lando Calrissian.
I'm going to say Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It is Lando Calrissian. This is
3 million?
Well, so that was kind of just an offhanded comment they made, but when they do that crash landing from onto Coruscant, they hit a tower, it just tumbles over. So yeah, then
like
they
a
just
radar tower.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, I guess we killed 3 million people. No big deal.
There were 3 million people in the tower. Oh, because the tower is controlling other air traffic.
I don't know. It seems like there can't be that many people in the tower, but they said it either way.
Well,
right.
you know what I heard is that jet fuel can't melt Coruscant steel. Durasteel beams. Thank you, Mike. And George Lucas did
Transparasteel.
George Lucas did 9/11. So wait. What's
very low energy?
Yes. George Lucas did the Death Star blow up. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Number 2. Lando Calrissian or Obi-Wan Kenobi? We've never seen bones like this in Star Wars.
What?
When do we see bones?
Is it when it's the hangar of that planet?
Oh, in Utapau.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's Lando Calrissian.
I think I am too. I'm gonna also say real.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No!
I thought that one might get you. It's just stupid enough to possibly be real.
We've never seen bones like this in Star Wars.
We've never seen bones like this in Star Wars.
All right, okay.
We saw the crate dragon bones, of course, but...
All right. You see Anakin has a scar on his face now to show he's already somewhat damaged. There's more damage to come, of course. Lando Calrissian or Obi-Wan Kenobi?
I'm going to say Lando Calrissian.
Lando Calrissian.
That's Obi-Wan Kenobi, baby.
Damn it.
Man.
I feel like you primed us with all the stuff you told us from
Like
the
that
commentary.
Lucas says dumb shit.
So we're like, I don't know, anything could be true because apparently he says stupid stuff all the time.
Well, I was like, do I want to hold on to the fact that I listened to the commentary? But I did not. So I held on to the fact that it would be the game.
Yeah. Damn.
All right, number 4. This is R2's action picture. Lando Calrissian, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I'm going to just stick with my guns and say Lando Calrissian.
I'm going to... Man, okay, so here's my thought process. That isn't even terribly correct or interesting, so I'm going to say that's real. Lando Calrissian.
It is Lando Calrissian.
Yeah.
George Lucas says that in that opening sequence we were talking about before, this is R2's action picture.
He does have good action in that opening sequence. It is the silliest that opening sequence gets, but it's silliness that is like appropriately laid into like a cool sequence.
All right. Number 5. I named this clone Cody after my dog. The clones are more or less the Emperor's attack dogs.
Oh, no.
Lando Calrissian or Obi-Wan Kenobi?
I'm going to say Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, I'm going to say Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Thank God.
The reason I say that is because Commander Cody is apparently like some old-timey like TV serial.
Damn it, you
yeah.
nerd.
I have my own fucking stupid nerd shit knowledge.
All right. Good track record still. Okay. Number 6. We use less and less of Jar Jar in the films. He only has one line of dialogue here, excuse me. As in, excuse me for trying to have fun. Excuse me for trying to have fun. I am still a fan of the character. I don't know. Lando Calrissian or Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Good.
Now, I don't remember
I'm
him
gonna say-
saying excuse me. He does, okay.
That is a fact. That's a fact.
When was that?
In when after they land from the crash landing,
Oh,
all
right.
the senators meet them.
Uh-huh.
And he like passes by someone and says,
Excuse me.
I'm going to say Obi-Wan Kenobi because I want it to be not
I
true.
think it's like too stupid to be fake. I'm gonna say Obi-Wan or Lando Calrissian.
"It is Obi-Wan Kenobi."
Yes. It would have been too. It would have been too sad
I don't
to
know.
me.
So that was a that was kind of an appropriation of the R2 story because he does have a long tangent about R2 where he says, "This is R2's action picture. So for fans of R2, they'll really love this one, of which I'm the biggest fan." Like I don't whatever that sentence is, he said it. So I was like, I can make a sentence that's bad. yeah. I don't know.
Man, R2
right, number 7.
really got fucked by J.J. Abrams.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, just he you know, he's kind of, he might be related to Padme because he essentially lost the will to
Yes,
live until Luke came
I
back.
like
Until
BB-8,
he, yeah.
let's be clear. But like
Yeah, me too.
R2-D2 just got like pushed aside for BB-8. He got woodied.
There was a real like vibe of JJ coming in and like a real like midlife crisis vibe, you know, like getting rid of the old girl, like the old wife for a new girlfriend, which he did for Star Trek into Star Wars. You know, like let's just get rid of the old robot.
That was the second Star Trek movie, right? Star Trek into Star Wars.
Yeah. The second Star Trek movie was called Star Trek Midlife
and Benedict
Crisis.
Cumberbatch said, "No, My name is Han.
We got jokes here, folks, from 2013.
I'm still mad that they tried to lie to everybody about that when it was so obvious, like what it was, and everyone was like, "It's this," and they were like, "No,
like,
it's not."
At the very beginning, he was like, "I'm not Khan, by the way."
Right. Yeah. It's like the Bob's Burger episode. Whenever
that's exactly what I was thinking.
When Linda's like putting on the dinner theater, it's like a murder,
and I'm
like a
not
mystery.
the murderer.
And everyone's like, "Oh, well, I guess it's this person." She goes, "No, it was me." And they're like, "Hey, what a twist!" And she's like, "What a twist!" And it's like, it's not a twist if you
lied.
say, "Yeah, you just lied." That's exactly what they did.
Number 7. Grievous's internal organs are very flammable. Is that Lando Calrissian or Obi-Wan Kenobi?
That's you. That's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I'll say Obi-Wan Kenobi because of Mike.
Lando Calrissian.
That's so funny because we literally talked about that during the commentary. We were
that was why I thought it was you, because like Josiah and I were both like, why his heart catch on fire?
No, I don't know why. And I feel like that's again them watching the movie and be like, I don't know. Sure, why not?
That sounds like a riff tracks. They were like, yeah, his organs are very flammable. Like that's not.
Yeah, totally.
All right. I'll give context for this. The water opera scene is referred to as Squid Lake by the Mon Calamari Dancers, Admiral Akbar's home planet ballet troupe. Lando Calrissian, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, that's like what my instinct is there too.
But we've been wrong before.
It is Lando Calrissian.
No!
That's a direct quote from George Lucas. I thought I gave it away earlier because I said something about water ballet, but I did not. That's good. All right.
Oh my god.
God damn it, George.
Got a handful
Squid
more
Lake.
if we're still having a good time. I'm having a good time if you want to keep going. I got four more.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So hang on. So is there a movie or like a hollow net production in universe in Star Wars directed by like Darren Aronofsky called like Black Squid?
Yeah, and it stars.
possible.
It stars Padme.
And they didn't.
Yeah, right.
They didn't have to pay for the music because it was public domain.
And it also stars a woman by the name that it's a perfectly Star Warsy Star Wars name, Mila Kunis.
Mila Kunis.
She feels like she should have been a handmaiden, but she was not.
Yeah, for sure.
Number 9. This is my son, Jet. So I basically directed my own son's death scene. It was surreal. Lando Calrissian, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, I know
that is something that happened.
Yeah, I know that's true. I'm gonna say Lando Calrissian.
Like Let Jukasa or something like that. I'm gonna say that is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That
Damn
is
it.
like the perfect though amount of like not
Georginess.
really saying anything.
Yes, exactly. The it was surreal part was very George to me, I thought.
Yeah, it was surreal.
Number 10. Should there be a hologram within the hologram? Lando Calrissian or Obi-Wan Kenobi?
I mean, without context, I'm gonna say Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, it is. They were talking about how when they do Order 66, Commander Cody has his little palm hologram thing that he sees the Emperor in. And so then they're like, wait, so then on Palpatine's end, should there be a smaller hologram in his hand?
And just nesting holograms all the way down.
But
because he's icy, because he's
but they
seeing
did not.
a man holding a...
They
That's funny.
did not animate that, but they still were wondering if they should have done that.
That's really funny. That's something I've wanted to do for a while. We have like a gallery wall on our wall right there outside of this room of like, you know, just different pictures and stuff. And I've wanted to take a picture of it and Photoshop that picture onto like a piece of, you know, like a piece of paper or whatever and then frame that and then hang it on the wall. So it's like a picture of our wall, and then inside of that, there's a picture of our wall.
Okay, number 11. I wasn't sure if heads would fall that way. Lando Calrissian or Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Whose head? I guess Dooku's head gets chopped off.
Yeah. Also, droid heads get chopped
Really
off.
sick.
I'll say Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, I think so too.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No! You're too good at embodying George Lucas's
Yeah, you're
voice.
really good at saying like nothing at all.
They also have the Yoda decapitates two stormtroopers
Right.
as they're
Oh, right.
coming up behind him.
Yeah, on Kashyyyk.
All right, last two.
It's funny to me. Sorry, to interrupt. There's a real to-do that's made over Anakin killing Dooku, and then at the end being like, "No, Mace Windu, don't kill the Chancellor because it's not the Jedi way." But then, like,
Yeah, it's
they
like
kill
poetry, it
they
rhymes.
kill a lot of stormtroopers, clone troopers, without batting a single eye, and it's not like referenced at all. Which, like, I know they're clones, but they're also like people that they've been working with for a long time. And it's just another weird cognitive dissonance of the movie of being like, no,
Right.
killing isn't the Jedi way, and then like you see Yoda behead two people, like. What?
I mean, it was like either him or them, you know.
Yeah, but still, I don't know.
I'll touch on this after the game.
Okay, good.
All right, number 12. He just came up and touched him. Lando Calrissian, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I think I'm gonna say Lando Calrissian because I want to know the context of what it
Yeah,
could
we
possibly
just
be
came
about.
up and touched him. I mean, yeah, I want to hear it too. Lando Calrissian.
It is. That's really the only reason I wanted to insert this, because the story is talking about Hayden. This is Rick McCollum, the S-Man. Said Hayden really wanted to be in the Darth Vader suit. Like,
Yes.
he insisted on doing it. So the day we filmed it, everybody wanted to be on set to watch it. So we basically just opened the doors to everybody else who was on set. Basically, everybody like squished in, like 500 people sat on the floor, watched this scene happen, and then we just came up and touched.
Scary.
This brings up a question. I'll pose this after the game, but be thinking of it as we're wrapping up here. What do you think of Hayden Christensen's performance as Anakin Skywalker? And I mean in both 2 and 3. But go ahead, continue with the game.
I'll tell you, that was one of the discards, was praising his performance, because it never happened. Like, I was waiting for George to say something like, "Oh yeah, Hayden really just put it to another level here," or like nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't
He
even
just
know.
Really, truly, I don't know if that's an indictment on Hayden Christensen so much as it is of George Lucas just like not giving a fuck
Right.
about acting.
Famously not the actor's director. Not even in the commentary will he talk about the actors.
I just thought, like, I was like, man, don't you believe in this bad movie you made? No.
It does sound like he knows that it's not good, which is hilarious to me.
All right, final one, number 13. The big tree is actually a miniature. Lando Calrissian, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I'm gonna say Obi-Wan Kenobi because I bet you it's not even that. I bet it's all digital.
I'm going to say Obi-Wan Kenobi just because I feel like he would have called it, I don't know, the big tree's very funny to me, but I'm going to say Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's Lando Calrissian. they're referring to
On Kashyyyk?
a tree on Kashyyyk. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was. Are
Why
you
was-
for Calrissian?
Which, of course,
Wow.
we are going to retcon as the title of any time you've
Right.
joined us and brought us that game.
Exactly.
Wow, that was lovely. I really enjoyed that. You
That
you
was
need
so
to like.
funny.
I know there's already a show of this because it's the George Lucas talk show or whatever it's called, the
Oh,
one
right,
with the.
Connor Ratliff.
But I
and-
feel like you have a like maybe not an impression, but just like the idea and the vibe
an
of what George
understanding.
of what he would say.
I was. Yeah. It was an interesting couple of days getting into his head.
Damn. So you did watch this movie twice.
I did.
And one time it was this old guy telling you boring stories.
The first time, in fact, in lower quality on a DVD.
So crazy.
So as far as Hayden Christensen's performance, I feel like he does good and bad once again. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I got. Especially like the first part, it's fun, and then like I don't know, the acting in this is all hit or miss. It's just the whole movie's hit or miss.
That might be why I like Attack of the Clones more than this, because that movie is just bad. And when a movie is bad, you can appreciate it for being so bad it's good, whereas when a movie is kind of good but has like a lot of bad parts, obviously there's movies that are like it's so bad it's good, but then there's other movies that it's just like, oh, that just like was bad.
Well, it's like what is
period.
it's like what is it? It's like what is the movie going for? Because Attack of the Clones, you never feel like it's trying to be serious or trying to be important.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones was like a drag performance.
Yeah, it's just flashy and weird. And then Revenge of the Sith, you do feel like it's trying to be important and say something. And so when it tries and fails, it feels worse than when Attack of the Clones tries and fails, because you're like, well, Attack of the Clones wasn't trying to do anything, so it's okay.
Attack
that
of the Clones was a swing and a miss, but like the swing was funny to watch.
it was a clown doing it.
You need to have a binary thing to settle this in your mind. It just needs to be all bad or all good.
Yes, all bad or all good.
I mean, it's sort of like the thing of like we said this recently, like the Olympics should have someone who's never done the sport be part of the broadcast. Like
you should have a regular. You should
Attack
have a regular.
of the Clones is just like such a fucking whiff that it's like, oh, like that's a movie that I could have made.
Right. You need to have a good movie playing next to Attack of the Clones and a good movie playing next to Revenge of the Sith, so you can fully actually understand the where each of them fall short.
Right.
And that movie.
My favorite movie is The Godfather Part 2. I've decided that. It's not the first one. It's the second one.
Oh, interesting.
And, like, one of the things I like about rewatching that movie is, like, I still have questions. I still am not sure, because there's, like, a bit of a mystery there. I'm not sure who knew what when and, like, where they fit into the plot. But... like, and this is kind of what I learned watching Solo as many times as I did, and now I apply it to this, is like, rewatching a poorly written movie multiple times is like uncovering a mystery. Like,
that's a good point.
I feel like I, even this time, learned more about what Anakin like was trying to do or think that I didn't even realize before, just because it's so muddied by the writing and it's so muddied by his performance. Like, I don't think I realized that he actually believes that the Jedi were trying to overthrow the Senate. Like, to me, I'm like, well, that's clearly not happening. And anybody with, like, even as like a 17-year-old, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, well, clearly that's not happening.
Right.
Like, he's just talking himself into it. But no, like, the script takes like beats to have Palpatine establish in the opera thing, like, I think this is what's gonna happen. Like, he's putting it in his head.
Right.
But like, Anakin's just not using common sense. Like, he's the one that says, hey, Mace, this guy's a Sith, better do something about it.
The Mace Windu scene is what I was thinking as you were saying that, which is just like, if you watch this movie through the lens of like, say you've never seen it before, like pretend you've never seen it before, and pretend that like a friend whose opinions you really value told you that George Lucas is the best writer ever.
Right.
You know, like, that's the only information you have, and then you watch this, you might go like, oh wow, okay, so like, even like Anakin is ostensibly the first person to figure out that Palpatine's the Sith Lord that they're looking for, and when he tells Mace Windu goes, are you sure? You know, it's sort of like hashtag believe all Anakins. Like,
well, but then he goes and basically just like, it's like that conversation never happened. It's like he just forgot the past 30 minutes, because he's just like, what are you doing? You're trying to kill this innocent man.
Well, and so that whole scene didn't work for me in multiple ways, because you like, yeah, minutes before, he's talking to Mace Windu about how he's pretty sure this guy's a Sith and that he's behind everything. And then,
and also they're talking just sort of like it's, like, hey, did you catch the game last night?
Yeah, he's like, so you're a Sith, right? And he's like, I really am. And then
a Sith Lord?
And then we're not the other thing that's like we're not sure about, or that's not, I think, not written very well, is because the reason he wants him alive is not actually because it's not the Jedi way. It's because he needs him alive so he can teach him how to save Padme, because he's still sure that Padme's going to die. But that's like sort of muddied in a weird way.
It's not competently made enough to express that.
Because at that point you're like, well, why does he not want him to kill him that bad? Like, he's obviously the bad guy, and it's only later that you're like, oh, right, the thing with the keeping Padme alive, I guess. Like, there's so many weird reasons for everything happening that nothing feels.
And they all boil down to like things happening to Anakin as opposed to him, like.
Right. Well, that's, you guys said that, I think, in one of your other episodes, but that's most of the prequels, is that things are happening to them.
Yeah. The river of fate is ever flowing, and he just happens to be like drowning in it.
I learned a couple new things just by having the subtitles on, which I never had before. And like,
Anakin is spelled Anakin.
Yes.
Annequin.
Yeah, it's a QAnon conspiracy. I'm sorry, there's a connection. Palpatine. So like, again, like this whole like, oh, Anakin is dumb, or Anakin is willing himself to believe this. Like, Palpatine, even after, he kills Mace Windu and everything, he's still committed to, like, lying and trying to fool Anakin because Anakin's dumb. He says something like, if my suspicions are correct, you're the only Jedi not aware of this plot. And I never comprehended that before, and I was like, you're still doing this? Like, you can't just be like, hey, I'm bad. You help me out. Let's be bad together.
We were. I think we said a lot is that like this movie is just like an example of the sunk cost fallacy for Anakin, because he's just like, well, I've already done this thing, so I guess I should. Like, he's like, well, I already helped kill.
But they do it wrong. Like, his first action as official bad guy is murder kids.
And then it's
and
to
then
go
he's
murder.
Like, all right, heighten that and go kill the guys you've been trying to kill for 2 whole movies.
And it's just like it doesn't feel justified at all for Anakin right from the beginning.
Like, look, I'm desperate. I helped you kill Mace Windu.
Please
what do you want me to
teach me.
do? How about you kill a dozen kids?
Like, if because Palpatine does try to trick him, or he's continuing to trick him, and so it almost leads.
You mean he was deceived by a lie?
He was deceived by a lie. Yes, that's a great line in that movie. But it makes you wonder, like, did Darth Vader...
Oh my God, that is such a stupid line. I didn't think about it until just now.
We were like, okay, so
we were like, well,
a lie
is not the act of deception itself inherently a lie?
Yeah, like if you are deceived, then you were lied to. He was
deceived by the truth.
But so it makes you wonder, like, did Anakin become Darth Vader on good faith? Like, if we took him to court, could it be argued that he thought he was doing the right thing the entire
he was acting
time
under his own volition as Anakin J. Skywalker?
Yeah, and that he thought he was doing the right thing because he was like, well, I was told that the Jedi were taking over, and so I knew that if they did, it would be bad, and so we turned the Republic into the Empire, and everything he did from that point on was like, it almost makes you think that that's what's happening, is that he's like, no, yeah, I mean, this is the right thing to do, but then they immediately have him go kill kids, and you're like, okay, but you would know not to do this, right, Anakin? Come on, bud.
You would at least go, I don't know, kids?
Like, do we have to kill the kids?
Like, you'd push back once.
One thing I learned, the other thing I learned from the subtitles was Obi-Wan says, oh, it'll probably turn out to be just a wild bantha chase. And swear, like, from this moment back to 2005, I thought he said panther chase. And I was like, well, that's not a thing, but this movie's kind of silly, so I guess maybe he said it's a panther chase.
Yeah.
There's panthers in Star Wars. Do you have any other notes before we start wrapping up?
Yeah, let's see real quick.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that stood out to me on this watch.
Boom. Point 4 is the movie title is a reference. The movie title is a reference to Revenge of the Jedi. So I think that's the only movie
That's a good point.
in all of Star Wars that is
a reference to another Star Wars movie.
Right.
That's a really good point.
R2 is always told to stay with the ship. It's just like, shouldn't you just know that by now? Like, they tell him that in the beginning, and I'm like, well, I kind of would like to see what happens if R2's on the front line.
He's like, no! It is literally his job to be on the ship, you know?
Right.
Like, he's essentially a computer for ships.
Yeah, he's like a ship mechanic.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things that took this movie out of the running from being in the, like, 9s when we last reviewed it was that, like, its shift in tones is, like, leaves you with such whiplash. You know, it goes from, like, fun family action adventure romp to, like, genocide.
Yeah, it's so grim.
They have that in, like, if you think about it, they have it in episode 4, but they just don't focus on it. Like, if another script could be like, all these people died, my mother died, my dad died, he was on Alderaan, and they do that in Mandalorian.
Sure.
So,
but in this, it's like we see a little boy, and then we see a lightsaber ignited, and then later we see the same kid's dead.
And also, like, this movie has the, like, scariest, like, / most violent imagery, too. Like, with Anakin getting burnt up and having all his limbs chopped off. Is like, if I had been a little younger when I saw this, I would have not liked this movie because of that part. Like, I would have been like, that's too scary. I don't want to see that.
Right. Yeah, right. Something I even said was like, what if his breathing problem wasn't that he was burnt alive, but that, like, it was just a bunch of smoke inhalation? Like,
or he got force choked by
lava river be smokier and, like, shown him, like, unable to move and breathing smoke, you know?
Oh, they love talking about the ash on the commentary. Like, this ash just sets the atmosphere.
I'm sure they do.
The ashmosphere.
A couple other notes that I had were just, like, Cinema Cinzy being like, how? But, they say something in the movie, and I don't know how war works. I don't know how politics works, but I feel like a lot of it doesn't work like this. Like, they say it multiple times, but I don't know why it's true. They're like, well, like, once Grievous is destroyed, the war will be over. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. Like the same thing with the Chancellor, like they don't have any kind of, like, line of succession or anything like that in place. I don't understand how any of that functions.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That, like, again, to the sort of, like, cliche we go back to a lot of, like, George Lucas tends to answer questions we weren't asking, is like,
right.
Conversely, there are sort of big, like, universe implication questions that, like, it'd be nice to know.
Yeah.
like why? Like, is Grievous in the same way as, like, the command ship in Phantom Menace, that, like, if you explode the whole thing, all the droids just, like, turn off?
Right. Like, again, like, isn't there just a chain of command? Like, shouldn't there be a guy under him who's now in charge?
Like lieutenant general or vice general, or I don't know what, like, the rank below general.
He's not he's just Griever. He's not Grievous. You know what I mean?
His manga guards, or whatever they're called, they were early pitches, designs for Grievous.
Oh, that's cool.
So they basically were like, oh, we don't like them, so he'll be his underlings.
Well, there's also like, you say you don't know how war or politics works, but, like, George Lucas doesn't, because he tries to say stuff with this movie, because the idea that, like, the Republic voted its own fascistic overlord into power, and, like, Padme's whole dramatic line of, like, this is how democracy ends, like, he's trying to say some stuff, but it's surrounded by such dumb stuff that's, like, it has no effect at all.
Yeah.
The Senate, does he always have a office that just rises into the Senate like it's like a big show going on, like introducing
it's like the bubble bowl
Palpatine!
on that SpongeBob episode when they're all a band. Like it like rises into like the Super Bowl or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I think Rocky 4. That makes me think of Rocky 4.
Uh-huh.
He loves the drama. He's messy.
And then another thing I said was, like, he's so hammy once he's a bad guy or once he's revealed himself. How the fuck did he keep that wildly flamboyant personality, like, suppressed? Like, he's, like, the rest of the movie, he's just like, But, like,
and his lips when he goes, no. It's like, how did he say no normally ever if that's how he normally says it?
It's gotta
Do you
task
think
him.
that was like take number 3 after the first 2, George saying faster and more intense?
Probably. I could see that.
That he was just like, okay, look, I'm gonna give you like literally fucking Lord Licorice, like like the most like cartoonish
Mustache twirling.
All right, last note I'll say. I remember thinking this at the time, and this was probably my teenage brain trying to justify a bad movie. But, like, I still think, based on the performance Hayden Christensen gives in this moment, like, it seems like it could have gone this way. When Padme's like, I'm pregnant, he's a bad actor, so he has a response, and his response is, like, looks like he's almost upset. And I was like, there was this picosecond when I was watching this movie being like, oh, wouldn't that be awesome? Like, Darth Vader didn't want to become a dad. And that's like part of his pathos, because he's like, that's wonderful. But no, it's just bad acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been another like so when we've watched the past couple movies, which I think sequentially in our commentaries, it was episode 2 and then episode 3, wasn't it? Yeah. So we have like the prequel era like really locked in recently, and like the entire time we basically spent like wishing these movies were some other version of the story, like a story that wasn't actually told, and like that would be a really cool thing for this entire movie to be kind of mired in. Anakin not wanting kids, like that would be an amazing lay on.
Where do people think Anakin lives? Like how it seems like somebody be able to figure it out pretty easy that he's like living with Padme.
Right.
Yeah, or that he goes there all the time, and all of his. Does no one in Star Wars know how sex works, or does sex work?
No.
Or does sex work differently because they've been together a lot. They're alone a lot. All of a sudden, Padme's belly starts to grow. Literally, anyone around them would be like, "Oh, right. Well, we knew you guys were together, but now we really know." But then, conversely, I was also telling Mike, I was like, she tells him she's pregnant, and then like a week later is having babies.
Right.
And it's like, was she?
Yeah.
Well, because
literally, it's just very convenient to the story that the Jedi are off fighting a war like 99% of their time.
But then you guys have watched Clone Wars. Is Padme with child showing a belly at any point in that series?
No, and then in the most recent season, the sort of final season that Disney did, like there is this little kind of interaction where Anakin is like locked in a room talking to Padme, and then as he leaves, like Obi-Wan was like, I hope you said hi to Padme for me. Like Obi-Wan
she's
does
holding
know.
her belly kind of like a pregnant woman would, but this is before any of that happens.
Right.
I mean, I said it the last time we talked, like she's about this movie. Like, she becomes pregnant, and when, like, a woman becomes pregnant in many movies, they just kind of become useless. They're just like, okay, well, you're now a vessel for a child. You shall be safely placed to the side.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so
R2
that's pretty
stay with
much...
the ship. Padme
Here's
stay with
a nice
the ship.
chair for you to sit in.
And we
the
don't know
nicest
how
chair,
babies work. Maybe you'll get, like, bigger next week and have the baby 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they'll be fine. That's just how pregnancies work in Star Wars.
In fact, we've been watching Mad Men, kind of, I mean, like, for the first time, really, for both of us. I had seen season 1 before, but, like, we are midway through season 3, and, like, Betty Draper is pregnant at one point, and then after having had the kid, you know, it's January Jones, so she herself was not actually pregnant, And after having the child, of course, she is like perfectly like skinny again. And like they wrote in the line of someone going like, wow, your body is so resilient, you just bounce right back, or something like that, you know? Like,
Because if she was really pregnant, they'd have her hold boxes.
yes.
Yeah.
I have an answer to your question though, Josiah. You asked about how sex works in Star Wars, and I believe that Palpatine maybe, but at the very least, Darth Plagueis the Wise influences the midi-chlorians to create life. I don't think sex happens like that. He's in charge of all the babies.
Right.
Yeah, do you think that all births in Star Wars are miraculous? Like there is every birth is a virgin birth in Star Wars because it's just
like
a Jedi.
There's literally like an entire planet whose race is like the storks.
Yeah.
Palpatine's talking about this power like it's the cool thing, and Anakin's just like, yeah, that's how babies are made. Like everybody knows.
Yeah.
It was made.
Everybody
my
knows
mom
that.
Always told me that. Like, so yeah, this is normal to me. Let's see. So let's wrap up ish.
Mm-hmm.
So here's where our ratings are right now. Here's where they stand.
Yeah.
We gave Revenge of the Sith a 7, an 8, and an 8 last time. Currently, we are standing at most recently, Last Jedi had an 8.25. Attack of the Clones has an 8.5. Empire has an 8.75. So that's where we're standing now.
Is this movie between Last Jedi and Attack of the Clones? Is it lower than Attack of the Clones, or is it higher than Last Jedi? And
I feel like
at that point, would we say like how much higher?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here right away and say it's higher than Last Jedi. This feels more Star Wars than Last Jedi to me.
Interesting.
In part because the beginning of it is so expertly Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then because I think it's
Jedi
also
is very anti-Star Wars sometimes, so that
yes,
right.
like also
And-
factors into it.
But we have also
Because-
said Last Jedi is higher than Attack of the Clones.
No. Right now our rating is Attack of the Clones is 8.5 and Last Jedi is 8.25.
Got it. Okay.
So we are
So
we
this
are
could be like 8 3/8 if we're threading
Yes.
the needle, or
or we
it's-
can also
it's-
push. We have
Right.
allowed ourselves to move numbers around. So I think it feels higher than Last Jedi because the parts that aren't the cool beginning part, I feel like are perfectly emblematic of the problems
Yeah.
of the prequel trilogy. You know.
I agree. Plus, this movie has like the most kind of like cultural staying power of the prequels. I would say like it's like certainly the memeiest.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I could maybe. I mean, what do we want to do? We don't have to like. I mean, we got to give it a unit of measure, obviously. But like, Last Jedi is an 8.25 right now. Attack of the Clones is 8.5. Do we just bump Last Jedi down again, or do we get in between there?
I think
With-
at the very least it is more than.
Yeah, I think so too, because it's better, but not.
Hey, you know
good.
what? I agree. So should we bump everything down? Is maybe is maybe
'Cause
this
Then what's above Attack of the Clones right now?
Empire at an 8.75, and then New Hope is a 9. I mean, and then Phantom Menace is a 9.25. And Return of the Jedi is a
so
10.
like our goal, I know that this is sort of atypical from the actual show, but like our goal is to like make a definitive order with like
Right.
each unique score. And yeah, I think this is possibly lower than Empire, but higher than Attack of the Clones. I don't know. Is it higher than Empire? Maybe with its like impact on like the animated shows. And everything?
I'm fighting for that impact, man.
Okay,
Because
I
that-
mean,
because like I said in the last episode we did about this was like Star Wars has added so much on top of it besides the movies, and a lot of
Right.
that
you're right.
is that
You're right.
animation.
Plus,
and-
this movie
and the-
is like 2.5 hours of plot, and like Star Wars has very quickly become plot in recent
And-
years, like
and-
filling in little gaps.
Yeah, and also like there are more bad movies in Star Wars than there are good movies in Star Wars. And Empire is a good movie, so it would make sense for it to be a little lower. That's just like the very basic math happening
Yep.
in my head.
That's right. We after our commentary, we were like, "Why do we like Star Wars? Because more movies are bad than good."
Well, because they keep making them. That's their
Well,
that's
that's
the
true.
problem. Is they
Yeah.
keep
So maybe-
doing it.
do we bump down everything a quarter? 0.25. We put
So that Empire's at 8.5.
Attack of the Clones is 8.25 and Last Jedi is 8, maybe? And then
this is 8 3/4.
Yeah. That kind of feels good to me.
I'm good with that. And then what's above Empire, or what's above what would be this, I suppose?
New Hope at a
New
9.
Hope.
Yeah, I feel like A New Hope like firmly cements itself at like high status, even though it's only one entry in the thing. Nothing would exist without it, in the same way that the animated shows kind of wouldn't exist without this. So
Now, though, we did put Phantom Menace at a 9.25, and I know that. Do we still feel good about that being higher than New Hope?
I do.
Okay.
Because of like the hype and the merchandise,
Oh, yes,
and like
yes,
how
yes.
like big of a fucking deal it was.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and just log that in. What's our
I
unit
like
of
it.
What's our unit of measures?
I feel like my first one probably was like batteries, fire. Is that right?
I think it was.
It was. It
Good.
was batteries, fire. Josiah's was younglings killed, and Delaney's was Obi-Wan is a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I think this time I'm gonna do little buzz droids because I liked them a lot in the beginning of the movie, and I want to focus on the positives.
I'm going to do it out of excuse me's because Jar Jar says it and one of the droids says it to Grievous.
Really?
Yep.
Hilarious.
Like one of the Magna droids or whatever.
No, one of the nerd droids. Like when they're on the bridge of that ship. Like Grievous
the like battle droids.
walks past them and he's like, excuse me.
Oh my god. That sucks. I can't do batteries, fire because I've already done that. I'm gonna do the like feathered lizard dog.
Nice.
Well, there you have it, folks. It's an 8.75. We bumped everything else down. So now the official rating goes we'll start from the top. Return of the Jedi is a 10. Phantom Menace is a 9.25. New Hope is a 9. Revenge of the Sith is 8.75. Empire is 8.5. Attack of the Clones is 8.25. And The Last Jedi is an 8.
Damn, so we had initially scored this in such a way that it was like 7th.
Yeah, this moved
overall.
up. This moved up in a
it-
big way.
Yeah, it really rose to the occasion.
Yeah. We're smarter these days. We're wiser. We're smarter. Let's finish because I'm so hot.
I know,
and
we gotta go to bed.
It's late. We gotta go to bed. So, do you want us on the internet? If you do, you
Yes.
can find us. I knew he was gonna say it. You can find us at How Star Wars Is It on Twitter and Instagram. Email us at agoodpodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. You could also hear what we talked about right before this episode if you go to patreon.com/howstarwarsisit and subscribe at $5 a month for weekly new episodes and monthly commentaries.
And Michael Delaney, do you want them to follow you anywhere if they haven't already?
You can see him on Twitter, Cormac Michael, and I have a YouTube channel now where I make silly things like Solo, a Star Wars reference.
Yes.
So you can see that.
And why
Michael
Iron
Delaney
Man needs to leave Spider-Man alone.
Yes. Michael Delaney, Cormac Michael, and I do have one last quote from the commentary that I got.
Yay!
Yes,
Because-
yes.
Good.
Because I don't know, this just seemed too long and too rambly to be fake. George says, obviously there's a little bit of a stretch with the Death Star being started in this one and in 20 years gets finished, but they had supply problems and union disputes and a few design problems, so it took longer than you would think, even for the Empire.
Here's what he could have said. He invented this. I know he thinks he discovered it and is just documenting it, but he could have just said, yeah, and you can see how long it takes to make a Death Star.
Yeah. It's the size of a
Takes about
planet,
20
man.
years.
It's the size of a planet. It could take a long time. So
Also,
it's about time.
conceivably, it took... So it's 19 years in the future to A New Hope. Maybe it only took 15 years, and the Death Star's been around for 4 years by the time we join our heroes at A New Hope.
Yeah, it's just been hiding because the weapons haven't been operational.
A New Hope, it's day one. It's just finished.
Yes, they had just broken the champagne bottle over the bow.
And on that note, it's about time for Tubby Bye Bye. So, like we always say, we love you. And may the 4th be with you.
Au revoir.
Bye bye.
Do do Dora, do 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 Dora, do do Dora, do 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 Dora, swiping, no swiping, swiping, no swiping.